Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we do the North Melbourne fantasy team preview for 2023, and we go through many notable players that could see an increase or decrease or just change as the new season comes around and new coach Alistair Clarkson changes up this North Melbourne team. So now on to the players. I've highlighted or starred a couple of players, or players in general, that I believe will have a difference in their output from last year to this year. So first up, Jai Simpkin. He's more just starred because he's a premium player at 846k. That's up there at around 95 average, as you can see here. He averaged 95 the year before that. Then the COVID year he still averaged 71, which is probably close to the early 90s if you scale it up. And then 68 the year before that, 66 the year before that, 59. So he has shown a progression. I don't personally think he will go up again terribly higher compared to the likes of LDU, which we'll get onto, but I think he could go 100 again, probably, which is probably not enough for a guy priced at 846, considering you have Mitchell who could go 105, 110, which would be around that 950 mark. So yeah, now on to LDU, 824, so a little bit cheaper, but for 20k for like a point or two down is probably a little bit more value than Jai Simpkin. So 93 last year, the year before that 81, the year before that 56. That was in the COVID year, so that's probably 71, 72, and 53, and then 40, and then he wasn't playing back then. So you'll see here 93. I could see him going up to 100, 105. He did have, if you look here, last three, good end to the year. Go over to 2022. He had a really good end to the year, especially against Sydney. He put up 111, Adelaide 129, Gold Coast 90, and these Adelaide and Gold Coast should be teams that he does. Does he have 2 games against them next year? He might. Gold Coast 2 games, I believe, and Adelaide he has. Where is it? Adelaide, I think he only has 1 game. Yeah. Adelaide 1 game, but still, same point that he's playing well against the teams around him, so he should be able to do well. And if you take out this 14 that he actually scored, then that's 20 games for probably even 96 or so. So, and especially once he started to actually kick on around 9 or 10, if looking at that looks probably around the low 100s that he averaged in that time. So I think he could go low 100s for the whole season this year and have those couple of big games, those couple of 130s or so, 120s, 140s. He won't have a 14 again unless he gets injured, so he'll have a lot more consistency, and I think that will help his value stay the same, but also his average should jump up a lot more. Now on to the next guy. Hall is a dangerous one because if it hits, then you're probably gaining somewhere around 100 to 200 points by the time that people realise. But if it doesn't hit, then you're potentially, it's like almost a 200 point swing either way with Hall. So with him, I'm just not willing to risk it with how many players of difference I already have in my side. But I could see him easily going 100, 105 and just sort of getting so many +6s. So he is a player that has so much injury concerns. But if we look back here, back to 2021, he averaged 109, huge score, even in the COVID year, 61 back then. And then 80, 71, 98, he has the 105, he has the ability to go big. So we'll just have to see, I guess, in the preseason whether he can continue on with actually getting a full preseason, but I think there's already been talks that or murmurs that he's already injured again, so that probably strikes him out from being selected in the starter team. McDonald, don't think he'll do anything really. Cunnington, he had 52 average last year coming back from the chemotherapy and cancer. So, and then the year before he averaged 99. So he is priced, I believe, around 75, which is 25 point unders from those types from 2021. So I don't think he's the type of player that you start with. I think he's the type of player that you come in for him after the bye if he's averaging 90, 95, and then pick him up and potentially for like the F6 role where he can hit those high 80s, early 90s, even 100-point scores, and you'll just have him as that last forward or M5, F6, F5 region. The next player is Stevenson, and this is purely due to if he has that role down back that he had at the end of last year, which we could see, but I think it will more transition to Gota as well, who we'll talk about later. As you can see in this last game, like he had a stretch of 2 games here, even 3-4 games here, where he averaged just shy of 100 probably. And then when they brought Gota in for this, I believe, was it Gota here or was Gota for Gold Coast? But they transitioned him, I believe, back to, he got injured as well, and they transitioned him, or I think he might have just got injured in general in this game, and he pulled off a 41. And with Gota going into that back line, I don't see Stevenson playing back, which just limits his scoring back to the numbers here. He had an 84, 80, so 49 in that year, 65. I think he just doesn't put up the numbers for the price tag that he has at the moment. Priced at 71, I don't think he can pull off a 90, 95 pointer, whereas I think other people priced even lower than him could. So you got a lot of the Jerry could be interesting if they do go for him over Goldstein, but I think Goldstein still plays at least an R2 role, so Goldstein will take away from Jerry being that awesome 90-point ruck. You got Curtis Taylor here. Could he be the one to take a jump? I don't think so. I think he just stays around that 70, 75 region, maybe a little bit of a jump, but not enough jump for to actually to have the meat on the bone per se for fantasy. Zeeble, Young, Zeeble. I think Zeeble just has he's too good around the ground in so many different places that his role changes constantly, not allowing you to pick him up. As we see here, he was down back, and then he's put up a 5-goal haul against the Swans 2 weeks later, and he's gone into the forward line, and then gone back into the back line here from round 17 onwards once he came back from injury, and then he might have even been in the forward line for this game against the Swans. These 3 games here, he might have even been in the forward line for this whole time here. But just the inconsistency in his scores between having a game where he scores 90 or 100 and then having a game where he scores 20, 30. The amount of 20-point games he's had here is quite bad for fantasy. So he's just a no-go at this point. Josh Gota, I think originally I was really high on him, but then you realise that he's got this 83, which I believe is priced down at around 60 or so with the decrease, with the 27% discount. He's priced around 60, which if you look at it, it's meat on the bone potentially, but what about if that was just a good game and he actually averages 70 or so this year, which I think he probably will go 75, 80, which is pretty close to being on the point where you pick him. I just think Elliot Yeo and Bose have enough more so that you pick them rather than Gota, and that's probably why he has a 1% ownership. But he is a guy that you could go You got Griffin Logue, another player that could average 70 or 80, but I just don't think he will. With the new, as he's just a key position player. Taron Thomas, with all the allegations against him, he's not going to be there for round 1, so he's probably a no-go. He was a really good option, but now not so. You got Darcy Tucker here now, 457. I think he's a really good option here, as he's supposed to be playing on the wing. He averaged 100 in the waffle with some big, 140, 170 scores last year, and with that role on the wing, he should be able to average 70 or so. 70 or 80, which is around about that 20 to 25% unders, plus it's a little bit less value than the likes of Gota and stuff, only at 457, so it's a little bit more value. He's priced at 52. He's probably going to go 75, 80, which is 22 to 25 unders his score. And then you have a lot of key position players or just guys that are going to probably fall behind as they're in that 20 to 24-year-old region, and they're just not putting up fancy-friendly numbers. So we'll have to see for pre-season if any of these guys even make the best 20. I know the likes of Larky will make the best 22, but a lot of these guys won't make it in fancy-friendly positions. Then you go down to basically the rookie price. Archer could be one that steps up and takes more of a ball distribution role, which is fancy friendly, getting him up to that 60-65 average. But I just think there's a lot of uncertainty with him, so he's just not probably a good pick. Wardlaw is a good pick here, I believe, as he will probably average, I think he's projected to average in the 60s, which is enough for him. 294k, I have better, I believe my selections are more, are better than selecting him, but I think him as that rookie role, even on a bench, would be good. Then we go to players on my actual team. At the moment, you have Will Phillips, age 20, he's 270k, so he should be able to get, I think he's even projected to average in the 80s, which is good enough to almost stick on the midfield bench for the whole season. But he's a guy that you'll look to see when he maxes out, and then try and get him up to a premium with a rookie downgrade. So he's another player you could really look at. You really should look at bringing in, as he should be in that midfield with LDU and Simkin. Another player that is around the same price is Harry Sheasel. I think he will do really well, and he's one of those, and he's the best forward rookie that there is, as he should play in a fancy-friendly role and average probably 55 or 60. It won't be as high as the midfield guys, but it will be enough to be able to get up to a mid-pricer and then start the progression up to try and getting a primo at that F6 role, even potentially trying to get him up to the likes of Ben Cunnington for that position. And then due to the Taron Thomas news, many people believe Blake Drury's going to get a chance, and so that's why I have him in, just a 200k guy, and I can swap him out obviously if he doesn't play, but just trying to see if these guys will play. So he's on my bench now, and if he does play, then he'll stay there. If he doesn't play, then we'll see, and we'll try and move around for rookies, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of rookies, especially with West Coast and North Melbourne and Hawks and GWS for that, all trying to play youngsters, so our benches will probably be filled with those guys. Then you go down here, I don't think many of these guys, maybe Bergman might get a game, but I don't think he will. And then you have Edwards, probably just a red dot for a captaincy loophole. And yeah, I think that's about it. Maybe Boom Harvey's son gets a game, Cooper, but I doubt it. But he's just priced at 200k, so if he does get a game, he should average more. But yeah, that's my review of the North Melbourne Footy Club fantasy preview for 2023. Remember to like and subscribe and to watch my whole playlist through that will be up in this corner of all my fantasy content so far in this preseason.